We hadn't called a meeting to order. As always, we start our meetings out with word of prayer.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to meet here today. We thank you for the weather that you blessed us with. We thank you for all that you've done for us. We do ask that you be with us and help us to make wise decisions and do the best that we can. Be with our citizens and continue to watch over all those who are in times of need. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen.
I'm sorry.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Chair, and apologies. I have a little bit of the sniffles, so I'll try to turn this off when I need to. But in terms of the quorum, welcome everyone. We'll start with Ms. Bechtel. Present. Ms. Cookimuck. Here. Mr. Cox.
Here.
Mr. Booth.
Here.
And Mr. Turner.
Here.
All right, everyone is present and accounted for, as they say.
And approval of the agenda. Anybody have anything you want to add? Take away?
I think that we are good
All right.
from a staff perspective.
Approve our agenda.
So
Second.
Great.
Yeah. All right, on the motion to approve the agenda as presented, Ms. Cookenbook,
yes.
Mr. Booth.
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
and Mr. Turner.
Yes.
All right, and it is approved.
Next, we have our disbursements. These two sets of them. Everybody had a chance to look over them. And anybody any questions or comments? Floor is open for a motion to approve both sets.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion to approve both sets of disbursements as presented, Mr. Cox.
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook.
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel.
Yes.
Mr. Booth.
Yes.
And Mr. Turner.
Yes.
All right, so those are approved. Thank you, and I'll start signing here.
Minutes. Is that the- Okay.
Excuse me.
Any correction?
Should that have been July 11th? Or
Yeah.
June 11th?
Yeah.
July 11th.
Yeah.
July.
It was last.
Yeah.
July 11th.
it in Egypt.
July 11th.
I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
Second.
I didn't catch it, sorry.
Apparently we didn't either, so don't you.
I'll change that right now.
As approval of the minutes of July
Thank you.
11th as amended. Let's see, was it Mr. Booth was first? Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook?
Yes.
And Mr. Turner?
Yeah.
All right, July 11th, minutes are approved. Thank you.
We got 6 extra minutes, so you can come on guys.
Thank you. This is great. It's good to see you all again. Hope you're all doing well. I've got some handouts for you. And seeing as how this is the end of the fiscal year for the TSA, I figured we might as well share with you. Oh, they give you 3. Yeah. Sorry. Yep. Yep.
This you only get 3?
I know them, I think.
Right, keep them.
Got enough? Did I do it right?
Somebody else.
I got one long form and one short one.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Got it. It's all right. I knew it was on it.
I've already seen this, and I've already been to the town council too, so we're kind of making the rounds. Okay, thank you for letting me come in tonight. Like I said, I just wanted to bring you up to date on the latest status of the PSA. We finished the end of the year, July 1st, just like everybody else did. Got the final numbers in on our budgets. It's pretty interesting, the story from last year, but you guys know it already. I just wanted to kind of recap it because, like us, you lived it, day by day as well. We had a crazy year last year, but the numbers reflect it, and just wanted you to know where we are in the current status, everything like that. So, under income, we're essentially $1 million company for the first time. So sales, 1,024,000. That includes some new hookups as well as mostly sales of water and sewer at the top. Administrative expenses, salaries and payroll, a little bit high. We had a lot of turnover in the first half of last year, as you know. We had to replace our superintendent and a couple other people, so had some expenses. Actually, this new fiscal year's salary budget is lower than last year's. So, actually, it's a little bit more under control. Under expenses, you got pluses and minuses. I like the way Teresa did it here with the blue and the red, so it's easy to follow. But, the story of the year is what's in yellow down here. And you can see our maintenance and repairs for water and sewer totaled $290,000, which we originally only budgeted $90,000. But in addition to that, we spent out of the ARPA money that you gave us, $160,000 fixing Main Street, if you'll remember. So we had a total last year of $450,000 worth of repairs, and it was a whopper of a year, I can tell you. Jerry and Linda know, everything we went through, but we pulled it out, and the system held together, and we had some close calls, but in the end, it turned out all right. Although the hit on the budget was pretty severe, we did have, before the year started last year, about $350,000 in, actually a little bit more than that, almost $400,000 in cash reserves, and now we're down to $240,000 in cash reserves. Our auditor last fall didn't want us to go below 300, but we blew through that pretty fast. Oxford Street ended up costing us $150,000. And by the way, we're hearing next Monday is paving day on Oxford Street. So I was wondering if we could get the high school band out there, maybe to. I think everybody's been waiting for that to happen for a long time. So.
Practice.
So that's the story on the budget. It tells a very clear story. We all other categories were plus and minus. Like I said, the big one was repairs, and they just kind of hit all over the place. And we survived. We did okay. So now moving on to, if you got any questions, please interrupt me anytime. I'd be happy to answer anything. On the status review, thought I'd give you a snapshot too of where we are. On the water side of things, we're still limited to 160,000 gallons per day because of well fixed. We normally like to run 270,000 gallons per day, which is where we were a couple of years ago. Normal usage is about 130,000 gallons a day. So we've got a little bit of margin there, not a whole lot. The other 4 well pumps besides well 6 are running, at a higher duty cycle than what they normally do. And as long as they hold up, keep your fingers crossed. We could be okay, but we're on the edge. I don't like to be there. It's not comfortable to be pushing too many risk factors, and we need to get Will 6 back up on online as fast as we can. The good news is we got the. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead.
Pardon me.
I just want to ask you,
Yes.
this is just
Sure.
my edification. What's pushing it off a year away?
The money.
That's what I figured,
It all comes down to money.
I figured that
Yeah. The good news is
if it's approved, it may take you 2 years to get it.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And going through the paperwork
Yeah.
is the big deal. I mean, we could probably go out to bid. The drawings have been ready for over a year, and but now we're going to go through the paperwork. But the good news is, 3 weeks ago we got the letter. We had got the letter of intent back in May, and we finally got the letter of award, official award, 3 weeks ago. So now VRA can be kicked off to start some of that paperwork. And of course, we're trying to push on them as fast as possible so that, but of course, if you wait a year, then you got to send the drawings back through to be approved again. And it's kind of like a vicious cycle, but we're in the process of doing that right now. Hurt and Profit, our engineering firm, is doing an excellent job moving this forward, and they've been waiting as well as we have. So anyway, so well 6, yeah, still a year away. What can we do? Keep our fingers crossed. We'll keep all the other pumps up as much as we can. Keep going from there. On the sewer side of things, we didn't get any sewer grant money, which was unfortunate because we put in for a bunch of it along with the water. And 3 of our pump stations they're running on the edge to, we're having kind of seal failures on them because they aren't holding their prime. So about every week we're out there repriming the stations. The worst one, of course, is the nursing home, which, the one from Commerce Park feeds the nursing home. The nursing home feeds the main pump station. So it's kind of in a chain. So we're watching the nursing home very carefully, but the drawings are being put together now to do a complete redo of that pump station. And as soon as we get that, then we'll see about, what we think the cost is going to be and going from there. The Route 8 pump station, the one down by the recreation department, which is really always probably has the toughest job because it's got a pump all the way from the rec department all the way up to the top of the hill here. And so it continuously has problems too with a lot of its seals. So we kind of visit the pump stations every week, every one of them, and kind of baby them through, but we'd like to get them redone too. They're next on the list. We still have infiltration issues coming in with the main pump station down. We did all that lining on Main Street, replaced a lot of that pipe last year in the trailer park and everything, but it was still getting high. And we lined all the way up the elementary school. I mean, we did a lot of work last year trying to fix all that stuff, but somehow it's still coming in. And so we're trying to track that down every rainstorm. The easiest way to track that down is wait for it to rain and go out and pop manhole covers and see where the water's coming from. So,
When it loses its prime, is that got a leak or?
well, the seals get old, and when they lose their prime, then they aren't lubricated. So once they lose their prime, then they wear out much faster. So it's really detrimental for the pumps to lose. And
Help me remember, when we did the smoke testing, did we do Alpine Street too?
we did not. Yeah, I know. Pine Street's a target.
Yep.
Well, I was recently told there's at least 3 homes out there that their downspouts.
Yep.
Is hooked to the sewer system.
Oh, great.
And has been for years.
Oh, great.
And I was gonna pass that on, so this is a good time, so maybe if we do another smoke test, let's hit Pine Street first.
You bet. Or at least pop those manholes.
Yeah. You take, you usually see if it's roofs or smoke,
Yep.
If you take 2 or 3 houses, that amount of water.
Yeah. It doesn't take much.
And there was a fourth.
Well, and.
No, there was a fourth. We got it all.
Yeah, but if we, and that's what I'm thinking with the water problems in that area, you may have one of those pipes that have come loose and some of that other water getting in there too from there, so.
You bet. Okay, yeah, we'll put it on the list. Thank you. Yeah, we had a great rain the other day, didn't we? Half an hour and a whole inch, man, it was torrential. So it was coming down. Okay, yeah, thank you, Jerry. That's great. We knew something is still coming from that side, and we're worried that there still may be the elementary school might have another.
And maybe more than 3.
Yeah.
Just depends.
Yeah, we need to get into that. Okay, no problem. And also we need to, in order to seal up Oxford once and for all, now that we got all the manhole covers leveled and all the pipes fixed, is we need to line it too, because it's still about half of it is the old concrete pipe, which, you know, we did have a couple collapsed pipes up there, which shows you or tells you the, you know, the age of the ones that are existing there. So we need to get the rest of them lined, and Clearview also needs to be on there too. So those are awaiting funds right now, and we'll put them on the list. So as far as the plant goes, we've got some minor improvements there, but the big one is the RBCs. The bearings are original bearings, which means they're like 30, 35 years old, and we need to replace them. And in order to do it, I'm told you got to bring in a crane, and you actually got to lift them off of the base that they're on, replace the bearing, and set them back down. A biggie. I mean, that's a real biggie. Estimated, you know, I don't know. I'm afraid to look right now, but I'll keep you up to date on that. So, not good. Under financing, of course, I told you we got the $1.5 million grant, which was wonderful. It's going to help us a lot. It'll help stabilize the water system. We do have that remaining ARPA money that you guys gave us a couple years ago, which is great. The town has added to that. They gave us $177,000 of their money last year, which was very generous of them. And so we're going to reallocate that once things settle out with this grant, and we'll see, you know, where the priorities run this year. So we do have some cash. It's, you know, allocated and specialized for some projects, but luckily we do have some. Again, cash reserves down to 240,000, and you know, we had to raise rates this year. We didn't like doing it, but you know, with our reserves down so low, we really didn't have a choice. And you can see how much money it costs. I mean, it costs a lot of money to do all this work, and it's not getting any cheaper. So hopefully we won't have to do it again for a while. We'll do the best we can. Keep everything flowing.
Right direction.
Yeah. Well put.
That was a good play on word.
Yeah. Any questions? Is what it is.
Just thinking when you was talking about paving Oxford Street, I think we had most of the last winter, I think. Get that new pavement down all of a sudden in the spring.
Hopefully, that's one thing that our people worked on, was getting everything checked out, everything. Part of what, a little bit of what delayed the paving, not all, but a little bit.
Yeah.
Unless something happens to a lateral now, the main line should be.
Yeah, we've cameraed the whole line. So that is great. And that was one of our goals. But like Jerry said, the laterals are still suspect because we can't get a camera up in them. And,
Grind that or just pave over.
No, it has to come out because of the cement.
Well, that was one.
yeah, and also now we put cement around our manhole covers too. So they're gonna have to
cover them up.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to get into it whenever they start their paving. All our valves are, our guys should be ready to get up there, and make sure they're set at
Yep.
the right height, so they're complete.
Yeah, which is always a challenge, because they just go right over the top.
Unless it's one of the laterals, we should not have to put on them.
No.
I hope not.
It should.
But I mean, you see everybody else's fixes too. All the ones that Facebook did are getting down too. So I mean, that whole road is really, so. Tough up.
If-
If for the worst, hope for the best. And
That's it.
It was, I guess that was, I don't know if everybody got to, or not, but VDOT was not much help when it came to trying to recoup some of those costs on Oxford Street from Facebook. And apparently, any agreement between them and Facebook ended. Even though we had pictures, photographs and everything that showed that was the direct cause of, I didn't say it, but 90% of the problem, I
Yeah.
think. Originally,
Yeah. The second batch out front of Farm Bureau, they went actually into the bottom of the pipe.
Up and down in the bottom.
And in the bottom, yeah, so that's why, you know, we had to replace 80 something feet there. And, yeah, it's just the pits.
Meantime, Facebook's cost VDOT, they would look at their contracts a little better and extend them and, as Jerry said, put a few more hooks in.
I would have hoped the state would have required a little bit firmer deal from that. But I think we all got pretty much bought into that deal. Yeah. That's right. I'm sure citizens would be on our team too. They never have what they do.
I don't think they could do anything either, much.
Good. So, hey,
Check in places they go, in people's yards.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like our people in Richmond. Because if you remember when it started, David was here and somebody said something about the flagger down in Ch- he didn't even know what was going
Yeah.
on. He didn't even have Facebook, his own county,
Really?
VDOT had no idea.
or the local did.
Okay, that's it. Thanks, guys. Hopefully you won't see me much because I'm looking for any disaster.
Come back and visit.
You were on visit.
Oh,
It's up for public comment. Well, Mike's running time. So,
And Mr. Chairman, I don't know if we wanted to discuss, I spoke to all five of you and your view was the same about reading things into the record. So I didn't know if you wanted me to say anything, but we probably should let people know at this meeting. Would you let me know? All right, so, if I, okay,
intent that all persons attending the meeting of the board, regardless of handicap and condition, shall have an opportunity to participate. If any person present requires any special assistance, please let the board know in order that arrangements can be made. I got called out on that I was supposed to read it at the beginning of the meeting, but when I looked back there and they said, go back, sit back there, I sort of skipped out. Anyway, I'll open it up for public comment.
and if I might, Mr. Chairman, so what we were discussing earlier is, as you know, recently it has been our practice to have people that write in and request that their comments be read by the staff into the record, that we have been doing that. And it turns out that is something that started because of COVID requirements, and it was suggested by our legal staff that we could do that to encourage folks to stay at home, And because of course that was back when we were trying to make sure we kept everybody at home and at a distance and all of that. But since we no longer have any COVID related limitations, the board has decided to go ahead and move away from that and go back to what our normal practice, I understand, has been, which of course is to do like one of these folks is doing this evening, which is to come to the meeting and give their public comments in person. And of course, those will be included. And then in addition, people can send their written comments in. And if they send them to Kim or myself, we go ahead and put them in the correspondence portion of your packet. And of course, folks sometimes write to you directly, and I know you often share those with us as well to make sure they get to everyone. So members of the public should be aware that the board does see all of those. And this week we did have two people that had written in and then asked if their comments could be read into the record. So I wrote both of them back and reflected what I just told you, and both of them said they certainly understood. They just wanted their opinion to be shared, and so those are both in your packets. So if I might, with that, Ms. Chairman, we have one person who is signed up, Ms. Kirsten Vest from Czech, Locust Grove District. Thank you. Oh,
Thank you.
Kirsten Vest, Locust Grove District. So I came with one thing in mind to say, but now I have three. And I will just comment about Dr. Millsap's just said. I understand about COVID and I know how things may have been done previous to COVID and the reason why you read things out loud. But I would just ask that you please can reconsider some of that, because you still have one meeting during the day. You still have people who cannot make it to the day meetings, and often because this is at 6 o'clock, can't make it to the night meetings. So they're not able to come and voice their opinions publicly. And there is something to be said about having a comment about what's going on being read publicly so that everybody in the county hears, and not just the board of supervisors, because unless you FOIA the information, and even then you may not get it as a FOIA because it might be deemed something that is non-FOIable if it's a letter sent in by a private citizen to the board of supervisors. So just would ask you to reconsider that, because you talk about transparency all the time up there, and this seems to me to be an effort to not be as transparent. The other thing is, I printed out this agenda right before I came, after I got off work. It says the meeting starts at 6:30, and Mike Maslany was going to speak at 6:45. So there may have been, I didn't see anybody coming, so maybe they won't, but if there is somebody who comes a little later that wishes to speak, please consider that until 5:30 or so, it still said 6:30 for the meeting. The other thing is, I found it interesting at the last supervisors meeting on the 11th, when the VDOT representative got up and spoke, and it wasn't David Clark, I can't remember who the fellow was. And in the course of his talking about things, he was talking about pipes and culverts getting replaced, and that they can only be done in April because, what do you know, little endangered species are affected if you do it at any other time of year. The bog turtle was specifically mentioned, and maybe some sedge grasses or different types of plants, and I think there was another species mentioned. And there was a discussion with the supervisors, even with, oh yeah, I know how that is. You can only do culvert work or pipe work certain time of year because of those darn endangered species. But when the Floyd Fest property, when it was questioned about the wetlands that are on that property, and there could be potential bog turtles on that property, we were berated, laughed at. Oh, that's their private property. They can do whatever they want on that property. We can't say anything about it. And yet, you know, so where's the line drawn? Who has to obey the rules and who doesn't? And it also seems, or it doesn't seem, I know that a member of county staff gave a permit for the Floyd Fest people to build a road and a bridge that he was not authorized to give that full permit because the DEQ didn't authorize it. We have that in emails. But it was built across stream and right close to a wetlands area. So, you know, be careful what you say. And, you know, the rules need to apply to everyone, not just to the people that you don't like. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that's the only person that I've signed up. If you, no? Okay,
I've not signed up.
okay, great.
Asked her which agenda did she see?
One online that said 6.
Okay, or you want to speak public comment?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I declare public comment period closed. That will go into closed session under, or take a motion to go into closed session under 2.2 3711A3, 2.2 3711A29.
So moved.
Second.
On the, if I might, we probably said this a little bit earlier before folks got here, but apologies about, that was a typo error on the staff part. So that was our misstatement here, so apologies about that, and well, I won't speak for the board, but I'll tell you that was us, so sorry. Anyway, on the motion to go into closed session under 2.2 3711A3, discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose or of the disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. And that relates to several county parcels or potential county parcels. And 2.2 3711A29, discussion of the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews or of bidders or offerers, and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract, where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. And this relates to actually a couple of different contracts related to radio and some other things. So based on that, Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
and Mr. Terman. Thank you. We move to closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, call roll.
All right, on the motion to come out of closed session. Ms. Cookimuck,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
and Mr. Turman.
Yes,
All right, we're out of closed session.
I'll take a motion to certify that we only discussed those.
Second.
All right, on the motion to certify, we only talked about things in closed session that said we were gonna talk about in closed session. Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Ms. Cookimuck,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
and, excuse me, Mr. Turman. Okay, you certified. We are all done with closed session stuff. Thank you. Yes. Well, and if I might, so Kim had intended to give you a larger overview, which we will do at the next meeting. But thanks to the wonders of Bright, Kim has had to re-enter every employee 3 times since we saw you last.
Can she spell everybody's name by memory?
You know what? And several other changes, so she has expended an enormous amount of time and energy working through that. So we actually talked today about talking to Munis about if there's some way to move that particular module up a little bit on our pecking order. And so we'll see if we can do that. But anyway, but she still has some really good things to share with you. So this is a preview, I guess. And then you'll hear more next time. That's right.
Some of the good news, you know, last year was challenging, especially first time for me with closing a budget out and things of that nature. We are in a really good movement. That's why you see those disbursements coming through. So thank you for allowing that and reviewing those as they come in to close out, and communication with the departments. They know probably my goal was by Friday, and it still is, to get out all the information for them so we can get the carryover requests to come in with our recommendations as we did last year with that format. But some of the, you know, good stuff, you know, we constantly, you know, speak about or we're, you know, reviewing the SNAP account. You have a copy of it in your correspondence. And I looked over probably a good year and a half, and the decisions that were made and things, and it's actually at a yield of 5.38%. And we're on a track of incurring, you know, those dividends anywhere from like 39 to 42.7 a month. So in a 6-month span, you're looking at over $240,000. You know, when we start thinking about those things at a year end, you know, that's a penny, you know, and those things are important when we're making those decisions. So to continue to utilize it and manage it in that manner is really, I believe, going to be beneficial. The treasurer sent over her cash report. It's about to date today about 700,000 more than what came over just in the checking. Recently, we had 2 CDs that changed over due to due date, and that increase went to 4.25%. And thank you to Scott at the bank, who was he was on top of it and notified us that
Good.
was the change. So we're real grateful that that's happening. The next 2 that are due will be November of 23, and there's 2 of them, both of which are over 500,000. So we have opportunity there at that time. Not that we don't have it now, but opportunity to maybe visit and maximize like we have in the SNAP account, or revisit the LGIP, since we've engaged in that now, to really look at not to duplicate words, but maximizing our monies in a smart and positive way, you know, especially when
Really wrong.
correct, you know, and be able to plan, you know, do some capital planning or budget stabilization with that. with the intent that, we can use those funds, especially even the dividends and the interest, where, those items that come up, we will have the funds and it doesn't, have an impact on the county. So you guys can make some great decisions in that manner. So, that's kind of a broad overview. Again, Linda, thank you for the explanation in the beginning. It kind of took me off my due diligence game to give you a little bit better more, and I'll have that prepared at the next meeting.
Yeah, I understand that there was $100,000 in the checking balance and
Yes, sir.
there's under 6 million in checking.
I think the report that came over had 5 million and 5 million. Was it 5.8? Okay, it's actually at, no, I thought it was 5.0. Then it's right where 5046, yeah. It's
Total.
in cash and checking?
Yeah,
Total
5
046, right.
268.
So now it's 576.
Cash and checking. That's up the first, that's up the 30th.
Correct. But cash and, so cash and checking was what I was referring to, and that's what I was looking just at, because that's the straight.
Check and see.
Yes, sir.
About maybe a 60-day at the most, preferably 45.
Something.
Well, and if I might, Mr. Booth, if you, as you know, we've been using the local government investment pool, that LGIP,
Yep.
as effectively our escrow account for the purchase of the bank. And so we've been told that as long as the treasurer puts the request in by 10 in the morning, that those funds, whatever it is, will be available to us by 1 o'clock that same day. I know in the past, they were not as efficient, and so there was some concern about, using that as an investment tool. But, we'll have an opportunity to test it out next Monday. And if it turns out to work the way that we hope it would, I mean, that might be a potential opportunity.
Yeah.
Because we're,
I've funded right now, or the last time when we made that, when the money was deposited, as Dr. Millsap explained, it was at 5.89.
Wow.
and so our checking numbers, to Mr. Booth's point, the checking rate is 0.01%. So that's been bringing in an average of between $50 and $60 a month, as opposed to on what's in the county's checking account. So
And if
Yes.
it's had access, then there's no reason to check, but it didn't have.
And if she's a constitutional officer, but we suggest, once
I could talk
it passes a certain amount,
Yeah.
that the excess out for the CD or whatever.
Just this local government.
Y'all help me, but the most I remember coming out at one time, payment it was under like $1 million.
Correct.
So,
and they're on days that we know.
yeah,
Like if she leave 2.5 million in there, and the rest of it go in CD.
We're all our money.
yeah, or in local government,
Yeah.
Yeah, the local government.
yeah, especially if it works that way.
So,
If you know, like you said, you'll find out next week for sure. But if it works that way, then
We get 5%. Pretty quick.
I went 8, 9. Yeah. Oh, 6.
You are happy with the point one?
0.001.
0. Better off money.
Costing us money.
It is.
tell them how to do their job. It's under their purview and all that. I'm just looking at standpoint. If we can do stuff like that and gain money over a year's time that keeps us from having to raise the real estate taxes next spring, I think we're obligated to try and do it.
At that rate, we were doing it in 6 months,
Yeah.
not even a year.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get it. It just seems like a lot to be in the check.
To her.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. She returns on vacation on Monday. She'll be tied up with hopefully, so yeah, probably Tuesday or Wednesday, and then I'll report back.
So again, we'll have a little bit more, hopefully, assuming all the payroll stuff goes well, at the next meeting to talk through some of where we ended up with expenditures in different categories, but that was something we knew for sure and thought was very timely. So, I don't know, Mr. Chair, if you want me to move to new business? Okay. Recently, we've been able to spend some time looking at what some of our historic assets might be in the community, particularly since you all took the move of moving the recreation department to a parks and recreation department. Gives us a little bit more leeway to look at, is there some way to try to preserve some historic sites but also make them a park in a way that would be available to the public, and potentially in areas outside of just kind of the core around town. And so there's a couple of things that have come up already, which is location of an African American schoolhouse, potentially the first one in the county. And so we've been looking into that, and then also several cemeteries. Primarily, some of these have come up related to communities of color. And so there are some particular grant funds that'll be coming down from the Commonwealth, and also some separate funds coming from the federal government that might make it possible for us to be able to start looking at acquiring some of those properties and turning them into something that would not only be preserved, which would be great, but also a place where people would actually go for, walking a trail or having a picnic lunch, and then have the opportunity to learn a little bit more about their community. So since we've started making movement in that direction, wanted to let folks know. And of course, if other people have great sites that they want to kind of put on our potential go look at list, be happy to do that. But I think for now, maybe that's where I'll leave that. That's right, y'all.
Check with Andrew or whoever, that cemetery behind Hotel Floyd. Yeah, Hotel
Yep.
Floyd, that's a historical cemetery right there.
Yep.
And they may be interested in putting in for one of these grants, and,
Mm-hmm.
when people's visiting town, they have that right there.
Yeah. Yeah, some of those would be really good. And so we have been working with some of the folks from the Commonwealth recently. And so they are particularly looking for things that are a little bit not so traditional, because there's some things that have been done lots. Having lived in Fredericksburg, there's probably nothing left in Fredericksburg that hasn't already been put on something. But places like Southwest Virginia, we really haven't had that much attention. And so most of them are not matching, or the match could potentially be, it could potentially, some of them could be also in kind, and it, if some of them are of significance enough, there might be some folks in the community too that might be willing to help out. So all matches don't need to necessarily come from the county. We can look for other places. In addition to that, wanted to let the public know, and y'all know about, we are looking at some grants to start movement on the property, those 40 acres that are above the high school. Of course, that land was donated was purchased by the county at a good rate a while ago. And so the grants we're looking at now would potentially start to develop the passive recreation. So things like trails and that kind of thing. And so we've reached out to the schools and talked to them. And so we'll see if we're successful. That grant is due soon. So with that, I think that's all I have to report on those unless you all want me to say more.
Try.
Yep, that's right. So, Mr. Chairman, what you have next, or if that's, unless there are questions about any of those things, the next item we have under new business is boards and commissions review. As you know, you guys have a large list of folks that have appointments to their boards and commissions, and so we've been kind of pinged by a couple of people, and then also started looking ourselves. And so, what you see listed here are a couple that have come up recently. The first of those is from the New River Valley ASAP board. And currently, Miss Sarah Akers is on that board, Sarah Akers Campbell. And they're requesting that she be reappointed, and she is interested. Just a second.
I'd make that motion if you're ready.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay.
I took a bunch of drugs, but I didn't.
Motion by Mr. Booth. Okay, on the motion for New River Valley ASAP Board to reappoint of Sarah Akers Campbell, Mr. Booth.
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook.
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold.
Yes.
Mr. Cox.
Yes.
And Mr. Terman.
It is ASAP.
Okay, I didn't know,
ASAP,
so I
yeah.
just didn't want to be inappropriate. Is it called ASAP? Thank you. Oh, it's,
Call it ASAP.
It used to be based out.
ASAP.
Be Virginia alcohol.
So I did.
Dropped in Virginia.
Thank you.
We always have just refer to it as state.
Doug Thompson served on that for years and years. So I'm glad that Sarah Akers Campbell is.
Courts through, and she
Yeah.
knows what's.
Yep.
She does a good job.
Yeah, she does a great job. So I'm glad to see her.
That was good too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad to see somebody's longevity in it. Yeah, this is true.
He spent a long time. there.
More than 20 years.
The next two items are two other appointments that we have advertised and haven't had any takers. And so the first is the New River Community Action Executive Board position. And of course, Floyd has two positions on the board. One is a public position, which Miss Cheeto sits in. And then, of course, there's a second seat, which is Mr. McInhill sat in for more than 20 years. There's three. Okay,
I'm sorry.
There's
Two
three.
are filled. Sorry.
Yes, thank you. Well, you're on there. You should know. And so the one that is open is, of course, John McInhill's seat, and he was in that for more than 20 years.
Yeah.
And so we kind of would like some direction where to go on that. And then also New River Valley Community Services, and Melissa Shaw was on that position.
Does she not want to continue?
No, she don't.
Okay.
Her turn.
Got her, right. All right. Where did you advertise them?
And Floyd Press.
And our website as well?
Yes. I think we took that down, and so I will put that back up. But one of my concerns, if I may, sorry, is there's minimal movement when we post, put it in the paper. So just looking for some insight on, to continue to do that. It's once a week, it's challenging, it's expensive, and
Right.
it has been a very long time. I know even for me, with my small tenure, that we've got any replies back from advertising in the newspaper.
Be having it on our website, putting it out on our Facebook site.
I think those are two good.
And then Danny's, I think, also started to engage in, to be able to professionally post on the Floyd group.
Yeah, there you go.
But we haven't, he's done other things, but it had, like he post, change of something. We think so, but we haven't had permission to do so in different manners, and we wanted to make sure that that was okay.
And we would also encourage her. We would also encourage you if we put anything up on the Floyd group. We don't yet have a lot of followers.
Yeah.
So if you all could help us when you see these things come up, if you're in these groups, recirculate them. That'd be helpful.
Services board. I think it would help us understand the organization. Really, our county administrator.
Yeah.
It's an interesting board.
Mhm.
It really is, because I served on it. Well,
Yeah.
Terry took my place.
Served on it for years.
And it's shocking. I thought you too. If I
Yeah.
didn't have 25 employees.
Real great.
Is that sounding like a motion, maybe?
Actually, she,
But you don't have any.
like if she's willing to, I will make that a motion, but
Emotion or emotion.
no, we've got a meeting Thursday at 5:30 in Radford.
Yeah, I think that's good. Tomorrow I have to be. I don't have any Thursday. They got good food. They got good food. Well, yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I would be happy to do that, especially because so much of the opioid stuff is there.
I'll second.
Before she had time to back up.
On the motion to appoint Linda Millsaps as the representative for the New River Valley Community Services Board, Mr. Booth, Ms. Cookenmuck,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yeah.
and Mr. Turner. Okay. Oh, thank you. I would be honored. I appreciate it.
Too, but I won't.
Mr. Chairman, before you move to that, if it's all right, can we get you all's approval to look more at social media and some other places instead of continuing to
Yeah,
advertise in the Floyd?
Yeah, I think you have to.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sorry. Back to board time.
Trackers. Not only are the signs up on 30 Creek, but it's all two VDOT dump trucks headed that way. But they were nowhere near that public driveway. I don't know if they're starting on the far end or what they're doing.
Well, 615 finally got paid
Yeah.
in the area that had been paid before.
Where's all these trucks?
They're going from the Dougspur plant
Yeah.
out to 615. I couldn't understand why they didn't
run
use black.
in trucks.
It's some of the nicest paving I've seen on 615. Oh, yeah, most of them are Adams. Yeah, yeah.
Also, that my understanding that they're gonna do Oxford. Or
Monday.
then they would.
They asked VDOT that for that.
They give it trail.
Well, there was some active.
Yeah.
Work taking place today.
Not just trucks,
Yeah.
they are in there.
I didn't get to talk about it there last time, but, Mr. Price, he indicated to us that I guess that children at play signs was back our responsibility,
Yeah.
but. Which, who, Mark or who we talked to
I
about
think it's Kevin.
Kevin?
How I checked, it was Kevin.
Are you looking for new ones or replacement ones or
That once.
just have one?
I think it. Keep that security camera stuff.
So I've got one on 615 that the children are no longer like of age. I mean, that would seem to me to be the best thing.
I didn't understand what he was saying.
That he made it sound because of that reason, the children grow up and they're no longer there. VDOT doesn't,
I mean, these are the buses.
aren't responsible. All the,
Reese Road, they had Richmond and Vito.
Right.
but he clearly told us.
Yeah, we had somebody that wanted some and we ordered them from a sign company. It might be Mark's, but I think Kevin used to do it, so I would check with Kevin.
Well, maybe check with David Clark
Okay,
and make sure that we receive the right information.
Yeah,
okay.
that's fine.
Well, I can send David an email just to verify. See what it said.
Because I think you still gotta follow their regulations for size of sign and where it's placed and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see them relinquishing all that.
We just be putting signs all over.
It may just be that the county has to provide the funding for it. And
They actually split it up.
And they still actually. Maybe, that makes more sense than a portion they're in.
It looks like it's coming under purview. They want to put all the signs out all.
And it's gonna be in there, right?
Yeah.
I double check with David, I think that they go.
Okay.
I think I threw in for a loop when I was talking about that. Said, direct call from David Clark, 2 or 3 days after that.
I wish they would, VDOT would check with these people that's cutting this brush along the road. But the other morning, or yesterday morning, they had the roll strips out, all their signs out.
Mm-hmm.
I drove over a mile, never saw nobody, and there's signs and roll strips again, and nobody ever is out there all day. And I met a trooper in there, and I was hoping he would say something, right? Then one morning, they had them out, and their work zone was like 2 miles long. You drove forever before you done speeded back up, and then all of a sudden, there. So, they need to heighten that up some.
And they also need to tighten up on their mowing crews. The mowing crews, the way the machinery is throwing the grass, these contractors is throwing the grass out the road.
I said they should have a sweep.
Well, if they're not gonna have a sweeper, then they'll go to the other side here. Off of.
Messed up pretty bad because you get the grass clipping, so VDOT should follow their rules. On that, by that, seem like they'll get that
Okay.
response.
Okay. Yep, I'll put it on my list to ask him about.
Did you get that list, that both, where we were supposed to send? Can you just talk about the VDOT list?
Road,
Oh,
Excel.
not yet. 'Cause I don't know. Yeah, if you want to just drop us an email or leave me a little note or something, I'll be happy to do that. Yeah. We asked him to send his, but then that was when Mr. Price said no here, so Push it off again. Yeah, my reports.
Y'all notify the community services of your appointment tomorrow.
You provide you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll notify, both Ms. Campbell and Community Services.
He wasn't here last time.
All right. We wanted to say thank you to, I think it's Harry Yates out at Locust Grove. I found he's been one of the fellows who's been taking care of cleaning up the Locust Grove Fire Department trash dumpsters every time the bears pulls everything out. And he goes down there and cleans it all back up. I just think that's,
Which site, please?
it's the Locust Grove.
Lucas. Thank you,
Department. Yeah.
thank you.
The dumpsters up at the land,
Mm,
the woods behind them,
mhm.
then they clean it up.
Yes, so there's a story behind. Apparently there was, when the guys went to go dump those the other day, there was a bear in there, about 250 pounds. And
In
so,
the,
in the dumpster.
In the can.
Yep, in the dumpster. And so as they went to lift it, the bear jumped out, apparently took a bag or two with them and went right over the fence into the transfer station. So we had a day for folks out there that may not realize how many bears we have out there now. It was earlier this week, we had one day that every single person that works for the transfer station saw a bear on their route or elsewhere as part of their workday. So there aren't that many jobs that you say you had a bear run, everybody had a bear running in one day outside of a zoo.
Right up on my satellite dish. Checked out my maple tree. And I think you can smell my hummingbird. So she wanted to come out.
Definitely taking to putting leashes on my dogs when I take them outside, because that one will, the white shepherd will take off.
Pretty good size.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But they're fit.
Yeah, okay, but I will put on the list to double check about the transfer station boxes.
They're not getting too comfortable getting their green boxes at the transfer station.
Yeah.
They
Were they empty?
needs to relocate in.
What'd you say, Lynn?
were they emptying them early?
No. No. Yeah, no, we've kind of put it into the doing that stuff early. Now, I will say there have been several sightings in and near town, particularly at Needmore and 615.
Yeah.
So we have pushed all of those together. Now, those are all open on the top, so you can still check your stuff
Right.
over the top. But those are all pushed together. It's been out to Commerce Park and gone through Green Box out there. Pretty certain it's gone through my backyard nearby. Dogs think it did for sure. Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. So today there was another post by one of our people, and I know the frustration. And it wasn't too bad, but we've got to, as a county employee, it's important to have a modicum of professionalism. I don't know. I don't know. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I applaud him for the work that he's doing, and I know he pushed them all together, and I'm pretty sure it was at the 615 site. And there were bees,
Mm-hmm.
honeycombs there, and I get it all. but I don't know. Everybody has a right to voice their opinion, but when you're, you know, part of the county, you have to think, I guess, before you post.
Mhm.
And I don't think there was anything horribly wrong by it, but I know you had mentioned something to us before, and I didn't want to bring it to your attention.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
It's at, dark panel.
Yeah.
You got people as your legal.
So, no.
The Cody and, or not Cody, but Cody's dad.
Yeah.
Cause they build fences. And he said, yeah, they can do it, but, you know, he's in the middle of day right now.
Mhm.
He works for WP. And I tell him that, you know, I'll probably work with him, make arrangements, they won't do it or do it. So, yeah, I'll tell you to get out. Yeah. He's great work too.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. See, I thought you were just jumping ahead because that's my very first item. So, I don't know if y'all are ready for me. Okay. If you are, Mr. Chairman, as usual, I have a couple more to add to that, three more little things to add, but I can start with this. So as you alluded to, Mr. Chairman, we have had bids out, both for a skid steer and for someone to build the animal control fence. In terms of the fence at animal control, I will say it has been a lovely outpouring of caring from the community. We have people that are just falling all over themselves and each other to try to find ways to get that funded. And we have folks that have, so the answer is we did not get any bids initially. And so now those folks are out actually like walking the bid papers out to different people in the community trying to find somebody to do the work for us. One of the challenges I think with the animal control fence is that it is a very substantial fence and it would be 8 foot tall. That is what the animal control folks have requested. I did go back and got up with Dale Marshall to double check that that's still what they want and told him, you know, you all have met Nelson. I'm really not the right person to judge about what a country dog would jump over. He's not going anywhere unless there's Kim's biscuit. So. Mhm. So we put it back out to bid. It's on the webpage. And Sydney and our staff has started trying to call folks to encourage them to bid. But it is available, so if there's anybody in the community that would like to look at it, it's on the webpage. And we would love to get some of those, and we'll follow up with the gentleman you mentioned as well. We did have more luck with the skid steer, kind of. And that we did get two bids, and one was substantially less than the other, which still brought in at $65,000. The other was way more than that, substantially more than that. But the good news is you all had substantially less than that in your budget. However, you had funding for some wells that it now appears we will not have to put in at the transfer or at the landfill. So we would be able to move that funding over and pay for it. So
For the moment.
For
the moment, yeah, we kind of feel like we won't have to do those wells. And so if that's the case, which we got another good report from DEQ just last week. So given that it's kind of, since it's all in Mark's budget there for the transfer station, sorry with y'all, we go ahead and just move that over. Yes. So yeah, it seems really appropriate and
How did we come along on the lights that we talked about putting up there?
oh, at the transfer station. It's gonna make us move. Not now.
Can we check with them and see if
Yes.
that's on the list?
Yes, we could do that.
Especially as we get towards the,
Yes,
so much now.
yes, yes.
Yeah, I know.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, lights are important. We're trying to do that for a long time.
Let me double check where we are, because I think that we did some of that, but I don't want to tell you for sure. But I'm pretty certain that we did. Yeah. Well, and I don't remember saying it either. So there you go. So that's where we are on those two bids. Second courtroom update. We did find out that there is asbestos, of course, in the carpets, but we have gotten some bids back to pull that out, and they've actually been very reasonable. So we will be moving forward with the lowest one of those. So I think we got 3 bids for that. So that was really good.
Good.
And we'll continue on that. And next, I've mentioned this to you before, but I haven't given you the date, I don't think, before, which is that we were, Jacob and I have talked repeatedly about perhaps many of the challenges that we have and parents have sometimes would be better if we had a coaches meeting every year with all the coaches for all the sports, just kind of some basic communication about what the expectations are in terms of communication and who should communicate, because there's been lots of different ways of doing it over lots of different people. So to kind of level set that. And that'll be on August 19th out at the rec building. And in the morning, because we're having biscuits. So
9 or 10.
I think it's 9 or 10. I'll send it to you all. And then we'll also be giving them all shirts. So that's something we haven't done before, but given that they're the ones that make the rec program possible by their volunteer efforts, it seemed like we could find some money for some shirts. That also helps too when they're working at any of the schools and they're in the buildings, that people know that
Yeah.
what their position is. Sure.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna back up.
Sure.
On that corner of the asbestos removal, when is that gonna happen?
I think in the next week or two, pretty quick, because we're trying to get that done
Okay.
before we really start doing work on changes to the Skyline building.
That's the intent. Yep.
Yes. Yeah, that's, yeah, thank you, Kim. That is the intent, is to try to get that done, so it'll all be ready for that. But thank you. Yeah, we picked out the paint color and I've approved which carpet. We did the little bit more expensive one because it wasn't as much more expensive, but had a much better warranty and so that's good. Bank update. So let's see. The good news is we have closing scheduled, as we mentioned, for the 31st. And so we'll be doing that through Virginia Title Company. And so that is scheduled for Monday, and that is something that Sands Anderson has been putting together for us. So that's all. I think we're all ready to go. And kind of the couple of key things that still have to happen is when Missy comes back on Monday, one of the first things she needs to do is move that money. So we might go stand over there and get ready. Because that would not be the first thing I would remember. They were going to go alligator hunting, so on their vacation. But anyway, so we need to do that. Apparently, the plat still needs to be signed and filed with the clerk. So tonight, Steve and I and Rodney have been, and Andrew have been communicating to make sure that gets done. Because that is a requirement for them to be able to release the funds out of escrow. So we need to do that. And they have called today and asked if we could get Danny and Kevin together with their IT people. They are having some challenges with their move to Lenore and in terms of their IT equipment. And so they're hopeful that they'll be able to keep a little bit more space. So told them we need to see how much space we're talking about, because that is the same area where we intend to put a meeting room for y'all. Now it is where we are already going to build a small closet for us and a small closet for them. So hopefully it won't be a big deal, but so we'll get them all together pretty shortly. But I think that's mostly where we are. We've had a follow up, but we're down to like Are we gonna have a swipe card or a code number for the doors and things like that? Mark has reached out to Andy, and we're starting to get the signage put together of what we would need on the, we think we'll probably need to not only have something on the door, but also on the corner of the building in a couple of places. So we'll start working through those kind of things. So hopefully we'll be able, as soon as we close, I've told them we intend to start working on making changes to build that boardroom and to make the A&E restroom as quick as possible. So they are aware of that. I don't think there's anything. Okay. EMS ambulance update. It actually turns out to be good news. Kevin called today, and they apparently had to make an adjustment to the hydraulics. And when they put the code in and did it, it jiggled around a bunch for about 5-10 minutes and was much better than it was before. And so there will still have to be some work done.
There's a may I? There's there's a recalibration of the hydraulic that kind of levels it back out if it goes out of whack.
Right.
So whomever Kevin spoke to, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name, walked him through, but that's right, Mr. Vest, right? Walked him through it. Kevin was able to do it and recalibrate it, which automatically made it drive better.
Oh, good.
And then go ahead.
And then this afternoon, Kevin and I spoke to the same gentleman, Mr. Best. And so they feel really confident that it can be repaired. They have not finished the paperwork to send to the insurance company yet. So they were reluctant to give us a number, but it is not nearly as substantial as we thought.
They don't have to refurbish the box.
No.
Nothing was bent, the drivetrain, everything was fine.
Well, I don't know if fine, but everything is repairable or replaceable within relatively reasonable amount.
They didn't total it.
Right.
And that's what we were thinking to begin with.
Yeah.
And the big thing was to get it up on the lift, because we immediately went and, Kevin and Linda immediately went to get it assessed.
In the meantime, can somebody find a paint pen and put the F back on the back door?
Of the current one, yeah.
Please?
Yes, and right. Before you wrecked it. What I didn't realize was they park it, squats down.
That's right.
He left the doors open. Left dang, it hit them net.
Yeah.
Should have a transmission interlock put on so it doesn't drive when the doors open.
Well, the other thing that Kevin had mentioned is that there's something that could be, under the mat where you have to literally press, which will a safety feature for ignition. So that.
Yeah.
So. Is that, yeah.
So that was really good news, because
Yes.
I was not looking forward to going a couple of years. So excited about that. And then I have one last thing on this list and 3 really quick other things. So, as you all know, you approved my nomination to be on the Community Foundation of the New River Valley Board. So my first event is tomorrow evening at the Moss Arts Center. And then we have an orientation scheduled and a full board retreat, both within the next about 6 weeks or so. So if I'm missing, that's probably where I am. I don't know if that's good or bad.
We keep adding you.
Maybe just a second though. In addition to that, a couple of real quick things related to green boxes, since there was a couple of things in correspondence about green boxes. We did go out and look for some new green boxes. I have been, reluctant to buy any, because of course we're trying to move to convenience centers, but we do need to buy some, and even at the convenience center, we might need to have some. So we actually got a fairly decent deal on 9 new boxes. They're running around $1,300 each, which is better than they used to be. Yeah, the more bear proof ones that we have up at the rec park are more than twice that.
Yeah.
So these are the marginally bear proof.
It has,
Yeah, I think we bought them once since I've been here before. But what I negotiated with Mark about this is, but before the 9, in order to get the 9 new ones authorized, they have to like actually bring in, clean up, and paint 10 of them and put them back out.
nice.
So,
That was,
because I do feel like, if we can take a little better care of them, it'll probably help both in terms of, them existing a little longer, and then also, my experience has been with a lot of things, if it looks nice, people generally tend to take better care of it. So maybe that'll help with some of that.
They can figure out. So they pick them up, it'll be.
Yeah, that would be good. We also talked about maybe getting some pallets to go at some sites in particular, because them sitting, like for instance in front of Slaughters there tends to get wet, and then that tends to make them rust. Everyone that so they've asked for 21 to be replaced. I said no. But every one of those is because the bottom is rusted out, which has a lot to do with it sitting directly on the ground. So we'll work on that.
maybe those pallets, the logging pallets from Long Island Lumber.
I was out looking at those.
Those are
today
big
when I
pallets.
drove. They are.
Big pallets.
They are. And then the last thing I was going to mention to you all is, so in tomorrow's Roanoke Time will be our first ad for an RFP for someone to do our real property reassessment. And so if you look on is it there yet, or will be there? It's there, okay. And if you look on the website, there is a 24-page RFP for reassessment. And of course, as you all know, this year we're doing it a little bit differently than we did last time. Previously, we've gone out and asked for qualifications and then asked for bids. As I talked to some other folks who are both in our region and ones who aren't but are doing it this year, the advice across the board was that's an unnecessary step and just adds about 6 to 8 weeks to your process. So go ahead and advertise. So I worked on it and then sent it to Lisa, and she, of course, being Lisa, turned it over, overnight, sent it back with all my questions answered, everything filled out. And then Steve dropped in about 12 pages of general assurances at the end. So if you look through there, you'll see what it is. There's a little over 15,000 parcels, by the way, if you're interested. So one of the things that is a little bit different in there than previously is a request to take photos and digital photos. We did ask that they state the cost separately in case it ends up being more expensive, but having photos potentially helps a little bit more with challenges, and also makes it easier if there are improvements to be able to prove that in terms of changing the value of the property. So, and if it turns out it's very expensive, we can pull that off. Because we also, I will say, I specifically noted that this is a best value contract award. So, and that's noted several times, which means we don't necessarily have to take the low bid. We have to take the bid that works the best for the county across the board.
And will we have a committee like we've done in the past?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
We will go ahead and do that, and so hopefully the date to have everything back is by August 25th.
Okay.
So then we would hopefully be able to bring that to you in the first meeting in September with our recommendation and go from there in terms of who to select. And we'd be working, of course, with Lisa on it. Is the last
So
thing
will you
that
be
I
doing interviews?
We would probably be doing some like phone interviews or have them.
We have to come in here. And we
Yes.
have a committee.
Mhm.
Sit down in the small conference room, and then we interview.
We can do whatever you all would like. We can do a full thing like that. You can have a group of the staff at least get you, if we are fortunate enough to have several.
Yeah.
maybe we can recommend, you know, a shorter list and have you
Yeah.
all interview them.
4, I think. I think it was 4.
Yeah, that's hard to tell.
Yeah, it is.
So from what I have, remember that the last time was
Yeah.
pre-hack. So it's
Right.
whatever paper
Yeah.
we've been able to find. Fortunately, you know, Lisa is Lisa. Lisa Baker is Lisa. So
Yeah.
most of the file stuff I have some from Terry's paper files, but really appreciate all the stuff that Lisa's been able to send to me, and she just did it. You know, does a great job as she always does. So with that, I think unless you have something, that is it. There's still sunlight outside.
Too bad.
Second.
Okay, on the motion to adjourn. Mr. Booth, Ms. Bechtold, Ms. Cookiebook,
Yes.
Mr. Cox, and Mr. Turner. You stand adjourned. Thank you.